Welcome again to Virtual Cabaret, where we feature musical theater songs that aren't the standards, from Broadway shows that flopped or have been forgotten or are just no longer produced very often. Today, our musical guest is Roger Anderson. Welcome back to the Little Theater, Roger. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you so much. What an honor and a privilege to be included in this series.
Oh, well, one of the great things about this is that, we can connect with people all across the country who used to do shows with us. So,
yep. I am coming to you from Palm Springs, California, presently.
Probably nicer weather than we're having here.
Yes, it's been glorious, glorious.
Great to see you, Roger.
Yeah, it's good to reconnect with you too, Chris.
Well, I had the pleasure of working with you on 3 shows. The first one being when you joined the Little Theater family back in 1994 season was playing Herbie and Gypsy. And how was that first experience working with Little Theater?
Oh my gosh. I will never forget walking into auditions the very first time. We had just moved to Winston-Salem, did not know a soul. And I felt like I was being embraced by this huge family. I never had felt so welcomed. I met Kevin Mundy. I don't know if he's still around.
Oh yeah, he's actually just been elected to the city council.
Oh my gosh, that's terrific. Well, met him, and he immediately connected us with everyone who was anyone in Winston-Salem. And I remember going home and telling Steve, my husband, that we have just been connected. We are home. And it was a feeling that continued throughout all the productions I did. Such professionalism, such friendship, such class.
Why, thank you.
Regard.
Well, ironically, I wasn't at that audition, if you recall.
Right.
I was out of town working on another show, and so Jerry Hatmaker, who was the choreographer and the musical director, ran that first audition. I was there for callbacks, and Jerry called me that night and he said, "This amazing guy auditioned. He got this incredible voice. We have to use him." And I was like, well, it's not a show that has much to offer an amazing guy. I mean, the lead male role, I said, well, could he play Tulsa? And he went, he's a little old for Tulsa. And,
not even 25.
Well, that leaves Herbie, which is very little to do with an amazing voice. But luckily we had the opportunity to do a couple shows after that, where your voice was showcased very nicely. So
it was such a godsend, the Little Theater. The friendships I made in the brief 3 years that we were there have been lifetime friendships.
Well, the second show we did together was Guys and Dolls, where you played Sky Masterson. And of course, the last one was Evita, where you played Pirolo with Chris playing Ava. And Chris, how was it being married to Roger?
The absolute greatest, in a sick kind of way. What can I say? Actually, it was a thrill. It was a thrill to work with you, Roger, on that show. It felt like such an incredible team effort. And boy, if we weren't all on the train when it got started, we were going to be left behind. So fortunately, we never left each other behind, and it was quite a ride, and it was wonderful.
Such a beautiful relationship. I think that the Pirolo and Ava had in that show. Beautiful, maybe not the right word, but Mark, I know you put a darker spin on the relationship and the more realistic.
I really wanted that for the whole show. I think one of the things that even though I loved the original production, one of the things that bothered me just a little was it felt a little like we were glorifying her in particular, which I think is actually the way that Angela Weber looked at it, but also him in a way. And although I was comfortable with allowing that Ava did in fact accomplish some good things for Argentina, he did not. I mean, he was really a terrible human being. And so, and I think one of the interesting things about directing that show is that it is not, the story does not get completely told with the material itself. You've got to show some things that aren't vocalized to make the continuity work, and also I think to hint at the darker things that happened during that. And yes, so that was kind of my approach to it, and I think we accomplished that. I also just have to say that I think it worked very well for us, the final thing where she's dying and that last song that Perón has about that. And then I remember seeing the movie and they added that dreadful saccharine song about, you must need me. And he's like weeping by her coffin. And I thought, this is such I mean, he was more worried about the fact that he was losing his political meal ticket than he was about losing his wife. But that's just
right. And wasn't he already on to the next young thing or whatever he was doing?
Even included in this. I mean, well, I don't know. Is it in the script? I think it is. That the last time you see him in the show, he's with a new Ava.
Yeah,
right.
And that I think was a unique touch for you to put in.
Oh, was it? Did I add that?
Yes, you did. You had him walk off with the new.
And I remember that we had her in your fur.
Yes.
Yes.
You could tell that it was
brilliant.
It's the same.
Brilliant.
You're starting.
Oh my God.
We also had that thing with the coffin, which I remember at dress rehearsal, first tech rehearsal. We had that thing where they, on the mortuary slab, she was dead. They put the coffin down over her because it didn't have a bottom in it, and then it would open up, and Chris would be there. And then there was that little gag with shutting it and opening again when he says the body disappeared and she was gone. And
right.
And then at the end of the rehearsal, the lights are up, people are getting their costumes off, and I hear from off stage, I'm out in the house, I hear from off stage Chris going, "Is anybody get me the hell out of this thing?" And nobody had bothered to pull the coffin off of her.
It was kind of hard to crawl out of, unassisted.
It was, but I don't think you could have crawled out of it from the top. I don't think the bottom half of it opened. I think it was only the two top doors.
Yeah, just the sort of the barn door at the top, and it would have required some maneuvering, and it wasn't that big a box. So yeah, it was an interesting.
Well, we did. I mean, I have to say that I think that's one of my proudest moments, is that show, and I think it's one of the theater's proudest moments as well. Wonderful cast all the way around.
All the way around.
Very exciting stuff.
Oh, so. Amazing. I mean, it was such a great experience. And Roger, I'm just sorry that we never had a chance to do any more work together.
Neither did I. I mean, that was.
Gosh. And when you said, and I'd forgotten that you'd only lived in town, that you were only here with us for 3-4 years. Unbelievable.
3 years. Yes.
My goodness. Well, we've missed you. I've missed you. And I know it's been a long time since we've actually seen each other, but it sure is good to see you via Zoom, and thanks to COVID this way today. So let's move on. And I want to ask you what you've been up to theater-wise since all those years ago.
Sure. After the Winston-Salem experience, 3 years there, we moved to Boston. We were there for 2 years. And these were all moves based on my husband's job. And in Boston, I went ahead and got my equity card, did a lot of theater in the Boston area. And then we were there for 2 years, and then ended up moving back to Chicago, which is where we had originally lived. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows later brings us here. I mean, I had the privilege to work with Patti LuPone and Audra McDonald and Stephen Sondheim and
wonderful
David Hyde Pierce, Michael Cerveris, Lonnie Price directed me, Paul Gemignani music directed some Sondheim shows. I did Passion and Anyone Can Whistle with Patti LuPone and Audra McDonald.
Oh, how wonderful.
Just amazing experiences. I did a lot of work with Jesse Mueller, who's a Chicago native. We used to carpool together, and I would pick her up, and and
Oh,
drive her to the
Little
shows.
did you know
and
that Tony was waiting for her.
I know it. I know it. And still, she is the sweetest, sweetest girl. So lots of famous people, if you will, but the Chicago theater community has a lot of the same feel that the Winston-Salem Little Theater community feels. It's very family. It's very, we've got your back. We are supporting our own. It's a wonderful, wonderful environment to be in. And then now, within the last several months, I have pretty much retired. I retired from my work as a speech pathologist, which I was maintaining the whole time through the acting career. And I think next week, I'm going to get my first equity pension check in the mail.
That's
well,
great.
And then Social Security.
there you go.
Well,
There
even
you
if
go.
you were here, then we couldn't afford you anymore.
That's
Right.
right.
I mean, it is kind of sad that if I was an equity member, I would not have been able to experience what I did with all the wonderful people at Little Theater.
No, no, they wouldn't. I mean, we wouldn't care. And in fact, there have been people, I won't name any names, who
Right.
cheated and done shows with us, and they were equity members. But there's always the danger that equity will find out and
Yes.
find them. It doesn't have any repercussions on the theater. It just has repercussions on the members.
Right, right.
Well,
But, yeah.
Roger has chosen to sing for us a song called After You Who from the musical The Gay Divorce, which has a score by, or had a score by Cole Porter and starred Fred Astaire in his last Broadway appearance before he moved to Hollywood. It opened on Broadway in November of 1932 and closed in July of 1933 after a total run of 248 performances. So by today's standards, that would definitely qualify as a flop.
Although I wonder if any show with a score by Cole Porter could really be considered a flop.
No.
Well, but in any case, the show certainly qualifies in our category of shows that have been forgotten. It did have a West End run in London and was adapted into a film musical by RKO in 1934 with Fred Astaire starring opposite Ginger Rogers. Interestingly, the name was changed to The Gay Divorcee because the newly created Hays Code objected to the original title on the grounds that, quote, while a divorcee could be gay or lighthearted, it would be unseemly to allow a divorce to appear so.
So there you have the Hays Code in a nutshell. But
Right.
yes, sadly, the film also, however, omitted all of Porter's score, with the one exception of Night and Day. So it was not. You were not going to get a chance to really experience the Broadway show by seeing the movie.
Right. I have to say that I love Cole Porter, and After You Who became kind of an earworm for me because as Brian was recording the songs, the tracks for our performances, that one really stuck in my head. And so I think it's a lovely tune, a lovely song. But Roger, what made you pick that song from the show?
Yeah, Chris, that's really true. It is a song that I was introduced to many moons ago and had the opportunity to perform in a Cole Porter review type setting. And it stuck with me.
Yeah.
Just as you said, that.
Yeah, same for me, and I'd never heard it before.
Oh, you hadn't? Oh,
no. When you mentioned it to me, I had to go and look it up on YouTube and see what
it really stuck with me. And when Mark invited me to do this, it was like instantaneous. Yes, that's the one. I want to, bring that one back. It's such a bittersweet kind of song that someone would find their true love, but already have to be thinking about what would happen after.
Right.
Yeah. No, I found it delightful. So I'm so glad you brought it to the table.
Yes.
So anyway, folks, we can now invite you to sit back and enjoy After You Who by Cole Porter from the 1932 musical, The Gay Divorce.
Though with joy I should be reeling that at last you came my way, there's no further use concealing that I'm feeling far from gay. For the rare allure about you makes me all the plainer see how inane, how vain, how empty life without you would be. After you could supply my sky of blue, after you could I love, after you why would I take the time to try? For who else could qualify after you? Take my hand and swear you'll never cease to care, for without you there, what could I do? I could search years, but who else could change my tears into laughter after you?
What a charming song,
It is.
and so beautifully sung by Little Theater alum Roger Anderson. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Please join us next time, where we will be featuring a more recent song from an unfortunate Broadway flop, sung by our guest performer, Jackson Maddock. Until then, as always, keep your love of musical theater alive.
And thank you for joining us at Virtual Cabaret.